Right now, what do we have? We have 26 participants in this meeting. I expect a few more will join us a little bit later on. We do have someone taking attendance. That way he can look at the names on the right of the screen and we can get a list of everyone that checked in. So I want to thank the folks that are assisting me in doing this meeting. I'm not a professional meeting giver. Our Microsoft Teams tech support guy is he's Charlie Matthew, N0XFD. He's actually in Montana. He used to live here in Houston and was a liaison to the Red Cross and did a lot of work with the Red Cross when he lived here. And so he's kind of my tech support anyway for a lot of stuff that's on a computer. We have our section manager, Stuart. Doff your hat, Stuart. There you go. And then we have our writer and our keeper of our ARES Info Depot, Miss Judy Whiteside. Doff your hat, Judy. I'm looking to see if we have any other. Stuart, do you see anyone else that is of the way high up league? I'm looking for Cooper and looking for Stratton, but I don't see them. They were invited, and I also had sent a invitation to the North Texas and the West Texas section emergency coordinator and section managers, but I don't see any of those folks on here. And also running our slideshow is Lee, WA5LEE, and doff your hat, Lee. There you go. And he's also recording this so that you can watch it at a later date when you don't have anything else to do. So let's get on with our show. This ARES Form 4 is actually what I send in monthly for the report to the league. The league, for whatever reason, has chosen to change the form a little bit. They wanted a little bit more detail than what we're sending in on the old Form 4. The old Form 4, I believe, was it was 14 box items. Now we're up to 19 box items. And the reason that they have, I don't know the reason, but they have broken out some of the data. Some of the things that used to be included in one item, now they've broken them out so that we have a separate amount of data. And new to the South Texas form, but not new to the ARES Form 4, is Skywarn events. They had asked us, or that was on the form, so I would report Skywarn activity from the reports that you sent to me. I would break it out that way. So we would have emergency events and then Skywarn events. And we're actually when we go through each one of these line items, we're gonna go through each box one by one and talk about what they mean and what you thought they meant, or what I have told you thought they meant may change because the league has a different view of the way that this stuff is reported. And after the preliminary meeting that we had last week and trying to streamline some definitions of some of the items on this list, we think that we've come up with a pretty good way to try to give the league what they want. And Judy is working in the background to have an instruction page. I have seen it where the way it stands now, but we're not going to show that tonight. Once this new reporting goes live, then you'll see it. You'll be able to create what she calls a cheat sheet and just go through each one of the line items. And then after you've done it a couple of times, it'll make sense. And everything should be easier. So we're up to 32 now. Let me scroll through here and see if we have any. We don't have. I'm looking for Lee Cooper and John Stratton, but I don't see them on here. So let's go ahead and start right in. And so box number one, in the old days, I used to have to fill that in. So Charlie Matthew, uh, can you send to Lee Cooper an invite to this meeting?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Send an invite to W5LHC. He's on our list.
Okay.
He said he didn't get an invite. I know he did. So anyway, thank you. Item number one is now going to be automatically filled out by the league. So all I have to do is click on, all I have to do is log in. It automatically pops up with me as South Texas. And then I can use the drop-down menu to choose what month and year that I want to report. And I can also go back and edit. I don't know how far back I can go and edit a prior report. They didn't define that, but I do have that ability. Number three, the total number of ARES members. Judy is going to actually pre-populate that number for me, but she's not going to pre-populate it for you. Judy, go ahead and give us an explanation of that.
Well, that number is always available in the database. There's no reason for you to have to type that in on your monthly report. And so when it comes time for Jeff to do his report, I'll just grab it and get it in there because I reference the database. And that is all the active members that are approved. And so I just pull that from the database. Nobody has to do any typing.
All right, so if you look at the report that's on the left, it says total number of ARES members. When I had sent in this report, that was the number that we had, 1,556. If I were to do that report today, it would not be that high of a number because approximately 500 of those are inactive members. So Judy has done an equation where she will take the number of members in the database, subtract the inactive members, and that is the number that we will populate in box number 3.
Jeff?
Yes?
This is Kurt.
Yes, sir?
When I fill out my form every month, I put in the number of members that I have in Galveston County. Now, I don't know that those are in your depot database.
Well, I'm planning to possibly take that field off of the monthly report because if somebody's in a county and part of ARES, they need to be signed up for the depot. That's how we compute things. So if someone's claiming to be a member of this group and is not logged, doesn't even have an account, they've never built a profile at all, they would not get counted. And Jeff would have to do a lot of juggling to figure out who's just not telling me.
Well, I've been the EC here for about 10 years and I have taken care of my own people down here and report them. I give them the badges. I prove them here, but I don't know that it's ever gone up into the SEC.
So some of your members are in there, and of course the ones that are members that I don't know about, I don't know if they're in there or not. But I think that the information. So maybe I should do as a sidebar with you is open up the database for Galveston County, at a later date, and go through here and delete those that actually have no interaction with you.
Or add the ones that do.
Yes, sir. We can do that. That's really easy.
They need to sign in and get registered.
So Kurt we'll put that as a thing that we need to accomplish is get with Kurt Tallman and straighten out his database. And if there's any other EC that's on this call that needs to do the same thing, just send me an email and we can do that. It's actually very easy. So let's go to item number 4.
Before we go to the next one, who's the individual I need to send the invite to? I can't find him on the list here.
W5LHC, Lee Cooper. And he's not on the list. So what we'll do is we'll have Stuart, we'll have the section manager send him an invite. I think it's W5LHC at gmail.com.
Send the join link, copy that into another email and send it to him.
Okay, so I think his email is W5LHC at gmail.com.
Copy. All right, thanks.
Okay. So number 4, the number of DECs and ECs reporting this month. We could have a possibility of 101 if we had every position filled. That's not true. We could have 115 if we had every position filled, but we do not. We have approximately 50 ECs. If you only report the call sign one time, there are some ECs that are over multiple counties. I can think of 2 that are in charge of 3, and I can think of 2 that are in charge of 2, and one guy's in charge of 7. Just the unique call signs, there are 50. The number of DECs that we have is 14. We have our highest number of district is number 15, but we do not have a district 11. District 11 was absorbed by some other districts back when Tom Whiteside was the SEC.
I fired them.
Oh, they just moved away so you couldn't see them.
I moved the whole district.
So we will. So that has not changed. The only thing that they've done is they've added the letters DEC. Number 5, the number of DECs and ECs appointed in the section, that number right now is approximately 65. So I will populate that number, and then the number 6, the list of call signs. Yes,
Jeff,
ma'am.
On number 5, the number of DECs and ECs appointed in the section, I can build for you. The examples that I sent you last week as the prototype thing only show DECs because that's what we had skimmed over. But I can build that number for you, and anybody in the database that's listed as a DEC or EC will get counted uniquely once, and so I can build that number for you.
I'll take it. Thank you. And then she will automatically populate the list of the DECs and the ECs that are reporting. And that will also, she will also list the ASECs. Is that right? She does that now.
I can do that, but right now, the code I sent you, the example was just DECs and ECs. So tell me what you want. I can do it either way.
So the number of SECs that we have reporting, we have Dallas Mellencamp does his. My second in command, Tom Whiteside, does his. Judy doesn't have a call sign at all. She's in 5TW-XYL. I report hers, and then there may be one more that I'm forgetting about. But those are the ASECs that do monthly reporting. So that is number 6. Number 7 is the number of ARES net sessions held. And so that's when our group discussion is going to begin in earnest. What the league wants is, and notice that this says ARES net sessions held. It doesn't say anything about RACES. It doesn't say anything about REACT. It doesn't say anything about your local club. It says the number of ARES net sessions held. And so and we want you to put in the number of the net sessions that you control, not the number of net sessions that you participated in. Because if everybody on this phone call only participated in the Monday night section net, the Texas net, on 3873, we have that 4 times a month, sometimes 5. If everybody participated in that one net and everybody filed a report, we have 33 in this meeting times 4. So it'd be 100, was that 132 just from one net? That number would be 132. Number of various net sessions held is 132, and that's a lie. And so we only want you to report the number of net sessions that you control, that the EC controls or the SEC controls or the DEC controls in Harris County. Giant population, pretty good sized county, but we have the capability in Harris to hold a district-wide, because it's only one county, a district-wide VHF or UHF net. And so the DEC for Harris County, if he has a monthly net, is the one that reports that. Any one of the 4 ECs for Harris County does not report that net, nor the time that it that was for that net. Does that make sense? Anybody have a question about that?
Yeah, question, Jeff.
Yes, sir. Who is it?
This is Russ.
Okay.
What about the hospital net? Is that not I don't think that's an ARES net specifically. Is that correct?
Why don't you talk offline with Sherwin about that? We had talked about this last week. So I think that he was going to put that as a, it's not an ARES net specifically, but it's ARES members that do that net. I don't know of anybody outside of ARES that participates in that net. And I think that he's thinking that it's a DEC report item, not a Russell Richter or whoever runs that hospital net. So
Okay.
it'd be DEC.
Jeff?
Yes, sir.
Sherwin. I think there are some non-ARES members on the hospital teams, but for the most part, you're correct. And I have been counting that as a district-wide net because it's called the Harris County MCOM team. So yeah, we've been counting that as an area-wide net, and I was just going to count that as ours, even though I'm not the net control on that. Gail is.
Okay. You got that, Russ?
Got it. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. The number of ARES net sessions held with NTS liaison. So what they want, the league is looking for is they want ARES to participate in the national traffic system. And so the number of nets that you hold that have that liaison, and this last Sunday night, we did the very first that I'm aware of, net where we ask at the beginning of the net if there is a person that will be the NTS liaison for this net. And what we want out of that is we want someone that actively participates in the net and not a person that just checks in for the count. There are plenty of people that check in for the account, but if you ask them to pass traffic, they're like, whoa, wait, I'm not going to do that. Well, then you're just checking in for the count. What we want is an NTS liaison that is ready to pass traffic. So a person, there should be somebody in your group. And so here's the net report from the Sunday night net. So we had put WB5HJV was our NTS liaison, and Sherry, W5MN was our other one. She's saying no. Yes, you are.
WM5N.
Busted.
I have a
There you
question.
go. Got a question?
This is Ruth.
Yes.
I think I've been doing this wrong. I've been sending an ARES member to the local traffic net, and every time that there's a traffic net, there's an ARES liaison on the traffic net, not a traffic net liaison on the ARES net, and I've been counting those.
So what net is it related to? Is it a net that you are in control of?
Yes, it's the Alamo area traffic net. I set it up. I appointed the traffic manager and all that sort of thing.
Okay. So I I don't see how there is a, how is there a difference?
Okay.
You set up the net, and you add a net liaison.
Okay.
Both count.
Can I inject there, Jeff, for a second?
Yes, sir. Who is this?
This is Lee.
Okay.
So for at least the last 20 years, when we've been doing the Travis County Sunday night nets, that is one of the first things that was at the beginning of the script is, do I have any liaisons, whether it be to the NTS or Red Cross or whatever. And forever and ever and ever, that was old Uncle James would always check in and 50UJ, liaison to the NTS Traffic Net 7290 net, et cetera. So, and we've been doing that every Sunday night forever. And we listed those liaisons. That's where that kind of came from, was I kind of assumed that that was sort of a generic process, to be truthful with you, because we'd always did that and we always gave the liaisons upfront chance to check in for early check-ins, if you will.
Yep. Yep. Makes sense to me. Ruth, do you have further comment?
Nope, I'll just continue to count them then.
Yep. That's what we want you to do. And we want you to have someone in your nets that it works, that those traffic nets, and doesn't just check in for the count. So that's number 8. Number 9.
And Jeff, before you step forward, I got another question I just thought of.
Okay.
Terry's doing the NTS nets on Monday and Thursday nights. Who counts those nets? I haven't been counting them.
So those are, I don't know. So someone would need to, so you're talking about Ron Bosch's nets?
Yes.
I don't know. We will have to figure out who should count that. Because that's a training net. That's a training event. Yep.
Well, it's a training event and everything else, but is it limited to just District 14 or is it a wider area?
Probably since the repeater that it's on, it's a wider area.
Okay. Well,
It's
I just
wider area, and it goes across boundaries. It goes from District 1 to District 14. That it is probably the SEC that should report that.
Okay. That's the question. That's the answer I'm after.
Okay. Well, don't just say it. Go ahead, comment. Yep. That's a good point, and that's exactly why we're having this meeting. So that we can have this kind of a discussion. And that's right, the NTS net. So if you listen to Joanne Keats, she'll tell you this is not an ARES net. And she says that every day. So Lee Glassman, so Lee, give us a little background about what you do. And keep it, and keep, so you do a Saturn net. Right. Well, so that's where I make the stance of it's a net that you are in control of, not participate in, that you're in control of. Okay. Lee Cooper, you have a comment?
Well, I was going to say, so we consider NTS proper a function and joined at the hip with ARES, even though it may do that. Now, I agree the SaturnNet is not necessarily a ARRL NTS net. So, but if it is an ARRL NTS net, like the ones we do, the digital nets and stuff, we want that information because we want to track ARL related NTS traffic and stuff. Now, is it a ARES net per se? I don't see that as being a distinction. The distinction is, do you consider it one of the South Texas section traffic nets? Then I would say that we want to capture that information. You're right. Joanne's is not. She's an independent and stuff. The SaturnNet I would see as an independent net, but we do run several section NTS nets, and I would say we would want to capture that information.
Okay, so to answer Lee Glassman, so I would say that we would need to come up with a net and on a case by case basis and decide whether we capture that one or not.
Hey, Jeff, it's Luke. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Santa Claus, go ahead.
Yeah. So the question, I've been capturing those NTS nets each week, both the Monday and the Thursday. So if that's going to go to the SEC, so as it relates to number 7, normally 4 nets a month, but number 8, I have NTS representation on those nets. So would I say 4 and 4?
Disjointed.
So the net that you're talking about is Ron Bosch's training net. So we're going to use it. We're going to call it Ron Bosch's because he started it.
Okay.
So I think that we have to think about that.
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Sherry.
Okay, the Thursday is not a training net. It is a true traffic handling net. Only Monday is training and traffic.
All right. So let's table 7 and 8 until we come up with a better answer. And if anybody has their own what they feel about it, send me an email. That way that I can see all these discussions and we'll make a decision. So number 9, the number of participants in nets. The number of participants is we need a way to count that. Right now, I'll speak of the South Texas, or not the South Texas, the Texas ARES net on 3873 on Monday night. So right now we're doing a good job of reporting the number of check-ins that we have. We have a list of the call signs. Sometimes we get one wrong, but we have somewhere between 65 and 90 check-ins to that 3873 net. And that is that's actually a Texas-wide net, but me as the SEC counts all of those and puts them in my report. So, and the way that I report the time for those nets is that those nets last approximately a half an hour. So we take, if we have 50 check-ins times a half an hour, that's 25 hours worth of ARES time. And in that net, there's no driving involved. We're going to talk about reporting driving time in some of our activities as we go down this list. So yeah, what he has there is the recent, the last Sunday night net, where we had 19 voice check-ins, but all these other digital check-ins, we're going to talk about that in a minute. You see all these numbers that are to the right of the number 19. Those are different modes of checking in via WinLink or VARA or Pactor or something. And so we're going to check. We're only going to count the unique call sign. We're not going to count that some guy checked in 8 different modes plus voice, so that's 9. That's not 9 check-ins for the net. That's 1 check-in. It's 1 call sign, 1 check-in. And that particular report, that belongs to the Harris County Northwest guy. That net report should be on his report, even though the section emergency coordinator was in that control for that net.
Jeff?
Yes.
I might make a suggestion. Every once in a while, we get someone that does a digital check-in but doesn't make a voice.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if we wanted to count that in lieu of their voice as an additional unique call sign.
I do. I think it's all right if they check in that way.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
So if a county has a net every week, and every week the same 12 people check in, that's 48 check-ins or 12?
That will be 48. We talk. Who asked that question? Ruth?
Yes.
So yeah, we had discussed that. So the number of nets, and then if you listed each one like you did an Excel spreadsheet, you would have 4 lines across there, and you would have 12, 15, 16, and 18. Yeah, you count them all. You add them up in the column going down. It doesn't say unique call signs. So you would, each net is a separate entity, in my opinion. On the 3873 net, I don't go through and cross off anybody that checked in the week before. It's just the total number of people that checked into the 4 nets. Do you do differently?
No, that's how I was doing it. I just wanted to make sure I was doing it right.
Yes, ma'am. You should have over 100 all the time. And then number 10, the activity details. This is information that is populated automatically from the information that you report in of what your county does. Or if you're a DEC, what I want the DECs to do is not report what their EC does. Their DEC needs to report what they did, and and not include what the ECs for their county did. Give you an example, and we'll just beat up Harris County as long as they're all on here. So when the 4 ECs for Harris County send in their report, and they did this and that and the other, and they have 500 members, and they have 500 hours of volunteer time. I do not expect, and I don't want the DEC to report that information under his, because then everything gets doubled. Then he has 1,000 hours that came out of Harris County, and that's just not true. And he has 1,000 members, and that's not true. And so we want the DEC to list only the stuff that he does, and the number of members, which we're not going to deal with that anymore because Judy's going to take care of it. The number of members for the DEC that he has is 0, because that DEC is a member of some other EC in his district. So I see.
That's what I do.
Who else is on? Well, so Sherwin is a member of Harris Northwest, and so his membership is counted by the Northwest EC. Once again, DECs only send in reports of what you did individually, whether you went to a club meeting or you can check into all the nets that you want. Don't make those events, just list that as activity of what you did. I'll call out Marita. She sends the longest reports every month. Hers is sometimes a whole page by itself. It's very detailed. She doesn't use any of the IDK for I don't know. She doesn't use any of that. She spells the whole word out. And so there are other reports that we get that as a guy will be an EC for 2 counties, and he'll go, I reported everything in the other county. So that's his county 1. He says, I reported everything in county 2. Sometimes, so here you see a list of what goes on. Leave it there for a minute, Lee. So you see in District 2, Somebody from District 2 did send in a report, but they didn't make any comments at all. I don't know how many ECs we have in District 2, but none of them reported what they did. Same for District 3, District 4, District 5. In District 5, the EC for Brazos County, this is what he actually typed in. And District 6, no one reported anything that they did. District 7, scroll on down to Merida. So see what I'm talking about? Oh, and so there's the Caldwell County one. He reported his under Hayes. So I would like to get some sort of information from every DEC and every EC. Even if you have nothing to report, that's your report. Say, I have nothing to report this month, and that's your report. We have some DECs that have never sent in a report since I've been the SEC. We have some, is that the way it was with you, Tom?
That's what happened to District 11.
We have everything from a full page by Merida to some folks that don't even bother sending in a report. Judy has a nice little reporting tool that I can view and see who had for each of the districts. That has a column that how many potential ECs that there are, how many ECs there actually are. Say District 1 has 7, actually has 7 counties in their district, but they only have 5 ECs because Liberty and drawing a blank on the other ones, county, but they only have 5 ECs, and then if they all send in a report, then all 5 of them, so whatever 5/12 is, it says that percentage of ECs reported, and then if the DEC actually sent in a report, they don't have to make any comments, just send in a report, then that information is in bold. And conversely, if none of the ECs sent in a report and only the DEC did, the percentage would be 0, but it would be in bold. Is that right, Judy?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So we want you to give us, something. And in this little bitty box where it says activity details, what that will actually do is it will add an attachment at the bottom of the report and make it, it'll show it, it could be 5 pages long, however much activity is reported, then it'll add that. In the old days, what they had was that little bitty box, and it made the print real itty bitty, and you couldn't read it, and you could scroll up and down, but you really couldn't read it. It was terrible. But now they've changed that, and Lee, that's one of the, Cooper, that's one of the improvements that they made on this. Thank you very much. So let's go on to number 11. Number of exercises this month. This is where they broke out the different details, and I have to refer to my notes. The number of exercises, and it says not training. Oh, look, he's got my notes up here. So this is, it says new on the form. It's new as it's broken out from the others. And as we talked earlier, the DEC, SEC, or everybody should report their own personal activity that is directly under their, and any activity that's directly under their control. The DECs don't report anything that was not under their control. ECs, so from time to time, I'll go do a Red Cross thing over in Orange County, over in Jefferson County, and that is not my thing to report because I'm not in charge of that bike ride. The communications is run by Jefferson County, and so my time on Jefferson County should be reported there. That's just going across boundaries. We have a fabulous bike ride that goes, or used to go, from Houston to Austin, and we have people along the route that would help out. Well, that's really not an ARES activity, but it is what you would call, however they, it's either a public service or a community service, depending on how you look at it. I would call it public service, but I think they call it community service. But we're going to get to that in a minute. Those hours need to be reported. Stuart, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a question. Back up on your number 10 there for activity details.
Okay.
When you showed that one guy said that he was reporting all of his stuff underneath the other county, are we going to try to get away from that and have each person, even if they are an EC over 2 different counties, that they have to fill out each report for each of their counties?
So he does fill out a report. He does fill out 2 reports.
But he puts the comments only in
He
one.
puts the comments only in one county. And
Okay.
and I don't know his particular situation, but that's what he does, and it's okay with me because he does send in a report and he does do stuff. Hayes County is very active.
Okay.
And I think Caldwell is just just kind of across the border and doesn't do very much. But he has some members that come from Caldwell and help out the Hayes folks, is I guess what I'm saying. So we're back to number 11, exercises this month. EC should list everything that the membership participated in for the month and only list each item one time. Some folks will have a member that is very good about sending in their volunteer hours, and they're going to list every little bike ride that they did or every big bike ride, every little net that they participated in. And so if the EC just takes that list and plugs in raw numbers, his next door neighbor could participate in the exact same things, and it'd be 2 of everything. And we don't want to do that. We only want to list the MS-150 one time. We only want to list the 3873 net on Monday one time. We don't want to list it 101 times if we had that number of ECs. So list everything just one time. Let's go to number 12.
Jeff, if I may,
Who is it?
this troublemaker over here in the corner and stuff. Lee.
Okay.
Yeah, quick question about number 11. Just give you an idea of what we were thinking of on that. We ever so often we participate in COMEX exercises with TDM. We'll do a hospital exercise. There'll be some sort of type event. That's the type of thing we're talking about for number 11. So it wasn't like we were doing a training or an SCT per se for ourselves, which we might consider it. But if we're participating in one of Harris County is doing something, or Williams County, and we are involved in that COMEX type exercise, that's what number 11 was kind of designed to capture.
So what Judy will do is she is in her instructions, she is making examples of what the league wants in each one of them, or my interpretation, or we as a group, our interpretation of what we're going to report to the league on her cheat sheet. And
Yes.
so Judy, if you will add the COMEX, and you can get some wording help from Tom on these different large, very well orchestrated exercises.
Okay. I'll list COMEX as an example of what to include in number 11.
Yes.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank
For that
you.
wording, this is Russ. Is that's going to include things like Harris County Public Health Casper drills and so forth, right?
I would say so.
Yeah, or a hospital drill that they created, and we are participating in their drill, their event, that type of thing. Think public service created events.
See, public service
Okay.
programs are separate.
All right, I have another question then.
All right, who is that, Ruth?
That's Ruth, yeah.
Okay.
Exercise.
Like there was a Comex down in McAllen one time, but my guys manned the EOC up here to give them someone to talk to. Do my guys count it or just McAllen?
If they're the ones that created it, then they should count it. But if I were you, I would make sure that it is counted. So if you have that down in McAllen, was there somebody from down in the valley that actually reported it, or do you know?
I don't know. It was a state-run one that the McAllen guys were participating in, but they
Okay.
need somebody they could reach. So we manned the EOC up here.
So maybe if you called it something a little bit different than what they called it, I would count that.
Okay.
Always count. You figure out a way to either you count it or somebody else count it, but count your folks' participation, including your own. And like attending this meeting, although this is an SEC meeting, so you don't count it.
Jeff, this is Kurt Tallman.
Yes, sir.
I have members who are enrolled in more than one county. Some of my members are enrolled in Harris, and then they're enrolled here.
Yep.
Galveston.
Yep.
I'm thinking that we, in order to meet the spirit of what you're trying to do, is these members need to choose which group they want to be reported with.
So the only thing that we can really do is go by the home county. If we try and fragment everything, I don't know that we can do that. And I know the ARES Connect, the problems that it had. It was interested in your home county. It didn't care how many other counties you were associated with, just the home county. So why don't we try and stick to the home county? I know that some of your guys even come up and do the CERT rodeo.
Well, yeah, I do. I come up there.
You guys travel what, 75, 80, 90 miles to go do that. It's a long place.
But I know some of my guys are also enrolled in Harris County.
Yes,
and it could be that they get reported there too. So that's the question. So
but it's under whose control? That's the deal. Is who's controlling that event? Is it the Galveston County guy? Is it the we did a Casper down there in Galveston County, and so all of that Casper time should have been counted by Galveston County, not Harris County Southeast or Fort Bend County, or not Fort Bend, Brazoria County, because you may have gotten some help out of there. But that should have all been Galveston County.
So who's controlling the CERT, for example? That's Harris?
That is controlled by Harris County. Yes, it is.
So then we'll quit reporting it.
So that will be a district-wide event. Sherwin will be the one that does reporting on that, but you need to make sure that he reports your guys' hours, and he will. He'll take the number of participants. If we have 50 participants and they work there 8 hours, you're going to get 400 hours. He don't care where they came from. Isn't that right, Sherwin?
Exactly right.
If you have 50 participants at the
I had the microphone muted. Sorry. We'll count it, but I'll get a summary. I won't even pay attention to where they came from. Just total number of participants for the number of hours.
That's right.
It's very logical.
Is that fair, Kurt?
Yeah, I don't mind that. The one other thing I wanted to go back and ask, I didn't get a chance, and that is when we have the nets. I have the ECG net once a week. I'm going to rename that to ARES/ECG because most of my ECG members are also ARES members.
Yes.
Now, but the other thing is that not everyone is an ARES member that participates in that net. So do I count them or not if they're not an ARES member?
I would take the total number of check-ins and multiply it times the length of your net.
Copy that. Thank you.
I wouldn't spend my time trying to define, he is, but he's inactive and he hates me and all that kind of stuff.
No, I
Let's not-
keep a big spreadsheet that I put together every month to make the report I send in to you.
Okay. Yes, sir. You send in a report every month. You do. All right. Where are we at now? Are we on number 12? So the training events, and so you really have to, think about this. What is a training event and what is an exercise? And we had a big discussion last week and came up with some pretty good definitions on what was an exercise and what was a training. So a normal weekly net is a training net. It's not an exercise. An exercise is where something is happening and people are responding to whatever this exercise is. But the Harris County, all 4 Harris County ECs have a training net every week. So that's the difference between a training net and an exercise. Repetitive sessions. We have Web EOC that we're supposed to log into the first Wednesday of every month for Harris County. So that is an exercise. That event is not run by ARES, but they have a area that the ARES folks check into and make requests for items, and actually fill out a star form, and it's reviewed by somebody at Harris County OEM. And respond to that and smack you on your finger if you didn't fill it out right, and do what you're supposed to do. Web EOC is a training event.
I want this definition.
So if we have a training net every Tuesday, like our weekly net has training on it every Tuesday.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that counted on number 7 or number 12?
It can be counted both.
Okay, I was only counting it on 7 and then counting the monthly face-to-face on 12.
Yeah, I don't know why. I thought about that. Can you count someplace twice? So number 16, which is a Skywarn event. Skywarn event is when we're going to talk about it in a minute. It was when the net Skywarn net is actually activated. It's not, and it is a Skywarn net, and there may never be any bad weather come out of that Skywarn event. They may activate it in anticipation of bad weather, and bad weather just blows right on by and goes to the next county, and they activate theirs. So
This is where the personal hours.
so the so that they have a differential between, they're trying to differentiate between a different event an emergency event and what is a Skywarn event. And how active are we with Skywarn event? Remember, this is not just South Texas, this is the entire country that they're deriving information from. So they have to, get everybody's input. Scroll up to, I don't know, that's Ruth, that's a good question. Should something be listed more than once? Yes, possibly.
Can I make a suggestion?
Who is this?
This is Tom
Oh,
N5TW.
All right.
Numbers 7, 8, 9, and 10 are looking for total numbers of nets, but the 11 through 18 are actually calling out people hours. That's where the actual counts of what people's participation is. I don't view it as at all a duplication that you might count an ARES net session held at number 7 and yet have various types.
Because you're logging the hours.
So 11. That's a good point. 11 through 18 is where you log the hours. Yep.
Question.
Who is it?
This is Terry, K5LGV out in Williamsville.
Hey.
How you doing, sir? Hey, little confusion on my part, and at least one of my ECs on 11 and 12. Quick example. I may have a training event where we had 20, 30 people show up to everybody learn how to use WinLink, test it out in the field, whatever. That's a training event. but I may have a full blown exercise where we run an event like an activation, tornado event, whatever it is. To me, those are two different things. One's an exercise, one's a training event, but I'm a little confused on which way we report that to make sure it's correct now.
So it sounds to me, the way that you said it, you used the word training for your first thing, and then you used the word exercise for your second item, and I reported just like that.
Thank you.
And
Jeff, Luke, I have a question.
however you see fit. Who has a question?
Luke,
Go ahead.
so on 11 and 12, where would the monthly web EOC fall in? Because that's actually an exercise.
So that is so it says down there on number 12, training is for new information only. Repeat. Oh, okay. So it looks like web EOC. Repetitive sessions like monthly web EOC check-ins is an exercise carried out monthly.
Okay, thank you.
Jeff, but when you throw in the feedback mechanism to get people correctly doing it, it becomes a training exercise, which is what you're always doing right now. At least in Harris County. I don't know how other people are doing their web EOCs, but we have a Office of Emergency Management guy that is actually looking at our STAR requests and giving us feedback.
Yeah, so we will build our list of known activity, and we'll take comments from everybody via email, and we'll put this in that category and something else in another category, and try and streamline it. But as long as it's reported, it's not a bad report at all, as long as it's not duplicated.
But it's
Is that fair?
It's to practice the training.
So again, I said the idea behind number 11 was really focusing on those things where TDM puts on a COMEX, your local TransStar puts on a city exercise, or they're doing something where they get the fire and police and you involved. The hospitals do an annual exercise that we're involved. Those are the type of things that number 11 were meant to capture. Your web EOC to me is a training event because it's an ongoing skill enhancement system that we just keep our skills sharp is what that is. So that to me is ongoing training. But that's my interpretation.
So if we added the word, two words, served agency to number 11, if we added that in there in the definition.
Now, unless of course, like in Terry's case, I mean, if he does a full-blown SCT or something like that, it's not just, like I said, it's not just a coming in, learn how to do an ICS 213 and you're done, but you're actually going in and setting up and doing things like that. That's probably a bit of a gray area because it's not really served agency, but it's a lot more than just logging in and having somebody tell you how to fill out a form and you're done. So, but it really was kind of designed for things that were not specifically meant to be training on how to fill out this and how to do that, but actually go out and participate in some sort of event.
Jeff?
Go ahead.
Someone mentioned the Casper as an exercise on number 11, and that's confusing to me when you start looking at 13 and 14.
Right.
How do you define a public service event and what's a community service event? What's the distinction? Is public service only for people like fire, police, etc., or what?
So, we will have to put more examples and agree on what the examples are. We need to come up and get an input from everyone on events that they participate in, give them a name, and actually put them in agree to put them in a category.
Okay, I'll drop it now. But that's important. We need to address.
Okay. If you read your chat box, Jeff,
I saw it pop up.
That's something that somebody found. One of our directors found that and sent that to me to define the difference between community service and public safety service. Community service is done by an individual or group towards the community or unpaid work, usually done by criminals in lieu of jail time.
So Lee, you should have seen my comments when I said community service just reeks of of law breaking or something. I don't remember how I worded it, but I used the word reeks.
Yes, exactly.
So we'll get together a list. So this report will not go live until next month. Judy is, I think, way more than halfway done with what she has to do, and then of course we're probably going to do a couple of practice sessions and try and break it. Of course, she does her own practice sessions and tries to break it, and but if this month, any report, if you have, some folks have already turned in a report. We had a couple people that turned it in before the end of the month last month. But so for this month's reporting, it'll be the same form as always. Next month, it'll be a different one. I don't know what that's all about. That's is that community service?
That's community service right there.
All right. So let's go to number 13. Non-emergency events. So me, that's where I would put your local bike rides is in this one. But once again, we're going to put definitions or examples of each one of these boxes in there for you so that you can make the best choice on your own.
It broke it out.
And once again, in your monthly, the DEC, ASEC should report their own personal activity. Doesn't necessarily have, I don't want any time because your time goes in from your EC. That makes sense? But for what each DEC did, they should make a list in their reporting under activity details under box number 10 of what they actually did. The EC should list everything that their membership participated in, and the DEC is a member somewhere, except for Terry, he's both. And only list each item one time. Number 14, community service, reeks of jail. That's what I had put. And so they've listed bike rides in that, and I don't know. I just don't like the term community service event. It just has a bad connotation. But maybe that's where we got to put it. That way we fall in line with the rest of the country.
Jeff, Luke again.
Yes, sir.
So on the Harris County ARES page,
yes,
we have a file there that says public service events.
Yes.
So if we're changing bike rides to be something else, then that document needs to reflect that also, whether it's public service or community event.
Yes. So why don't you contact Sherwin and Mike Urick and discuss that via email, and however you end up wording it, that's how you word it. You three figure out what you want to do. And Russell Richter, all the ECs for Harris County get in on that.
So again, I think when we did this, Jeff, when we took, if you were to, when you guys, if you remember sometimes back, you guys were asked to go around with Harris County door to door during one of the flooding events or something like that. And I think we
Casper.
Yes, it's like that. And so that's through that. We sit there and sometimes get asked by the Red Cross to come down and help program with the radios. Sometimes we get asked by them to go and participate in assertive. Those are type of things that we saw public service because we were doing something for the Public Service Agency, a PSA. A bike race, a foot race, things like that. They are a community event. And so we saw that as that we were doing something to serve the community. In terms, that's where that separation mindset was, why we put it that way. So,
okay.
So this is Kurt, and let me say that we've got a lot of ambiguity here. In my mind, it ought to be combined, public service / community service.
So it was combined in the old days. It was all under the same. It had it had number 7.
Public service.
Had public service number 7 and number 8 community service.
The community was never there on the list.
Why do they want to cut it that fine?
Exactly.
I do not know.
I can answer that if I may.
Go ahead,
So
Lee.
one of the things I'm not sure that everyone knows, when we put this together, one of the things we've never had the ability to do in the past was to do reports, very finite reports. So if the PR committee wanted to sit there and publish how much stuff that we did relating to bicycle races, we never had the ability to do a search on an overall nation database as to how many events, how many hours have we done toward bicycle races. If the legislative committee was going before a congressman and they wanted to bring some details or statistics on how much we had sit there and done service toward a sheriff's department or an EOC or DHS, we never had the ability to sit there and refine that. So the thing that this is, now that we have an actual database on the back end, not just an Excel spreadsheet that Ken Bailey fills out, our PR guys, our legislative guys, our annual report guys, they can now go in and we can sit there and say how many hours were spent on Hurricane Harvey in this particular section. And we can actually now pull out granular data that we can present to different folks, and we were doing that. So before it was just collect hours, put it in an Excel spreadsheet, and we said we did 52 million hours, and that's all we can tell them. Now we're going to be able to sit there and be event specific, type specific, emergency specific, and that's giving us a hell of a lot more capability. So that's why we've got more granular on some of these things, because we wanted the ability to be able to split it out and do some more reporting in the future, that now that we have a real database on the back end.
Inputs.
Okay. So let's go to number 15. So of course our big two in recent memory for this part of the state anyway is Hurricane Harvey and the 2021 freeze. While Hurricane Harvey was a region-wide area, or in South Texas has been a section-wide event, we can only list this emergency event one time. We can't have each one of the ECs and the DEC report it and then have 90. So if they all reported, we'd have 97 ECs reporting the same event. And the 2021 freeze, I know Williamson County, I'm not sure about Travis County, but Williamson County did a huge amount of man hours for the 2021 freeze. And I know that Harris County did, but certainly not on the scale that Williamson did, just from the report that I read. Williamson was just ridiculous, Terry, ridiculous. And also, the ECs should only list information that is under your local control. So Harvey nor the freeze was under the local person's control. That is a higher up person, and a higher up person in South Texas is me. So we need to post information on the IO group and make that our, because it works pretty well. It's very active. And so we should use the IO group to disseminate information and gather information. That way everybody keeps in the loop. And then the SEC will report for the group what we're doing. But I have to have information from the ECs or the DECs. And remember, if you're a DEC and you don't have an EC in one of your counties, you're responsible for that county. Sorry. Skywarn is not an emergency event. It is held in anticipation of and reaction to an emergency event. So Skywarn does not go in the emergency events number 15. The And then we talk about that again, that a emergency event may never occur after the Skywarn net is activated, but the net was activated. I don't know. Terry, how do you have a Skywarn person that announces in some manner that the Skywarn net is going to take place?
Yeah, a lot of times that could be myself or whoever is responsible to start up a Skywarn net. We usually key it off of an event if we're asked by a served agency, which happens at times, sometimes in advance of the event. If not, when we have a like a severe thunderstorm warning come through, at that point we'll crank one up and call it a Skywarn net and activate a net across the county, run net controls, and we'll typically feed information back into the National Weather Service through NWS chat and also into the served agencies like the county and some of the sheriff's office and things. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. So we have Dave Finelli is the Skywarn person for our local area. And not to my knowledge, does he send out a notice that a Skywarn net is taking place. But we need to change that, at least for Harris County. I guess we need to figure out a list of who activates the Skywarn nets for South Texas, and make sure that they are letting everyone know, letting not all 1,500 members, but at least the EC for the area that's affected, so that the EC can send out the page or something like that. The Skywarn net is taking place, and this is the frequency that it's on.
I can tell you how we do that.
Is that Ruth?
Yes. Yeah, we were when it would activate, go on the South Texas ARES site and use the chat, and that was sending it out to all members, and many of them were not in a position to participate. So we created a group me that notifies only the people who have opted into it, that a Skywarn net is either active or going to be active, and the head net control is the one in charge of that. And if he's not available, he's got 2 backup net controls.
Yep, it sounds like you have that under control, and so we need to mimic that in Harris County, and probably it needs to be mimicked throughout the section.
Predates my essence.
Did I see Randy Leftwich on here? I know I did.
It's hard in the back.
Anybody from Orange or Jefferson County on here?
There's a pillow up there if you want.
This is Kirk Mahaney.
Hey, Kurt, so how do you guys do a Skywarn event?
We actually have very few, but we do call up a net on occasion. We have called up one and participated with the Lake Charles Weather Service.
Okay.
But it's called locally up by net control.
So I had forgot that your data came from Lake Charles. I forgot that.
Right.
Thanks for reminding me.
We have a good relationship there, so that's good.
Yes, you do. Calcasieu Parish, Louisiana. You guys have a good relationship with them.
Yes, yes.
Hey, one more comment, Jeff.
Yes, sir. Who is this?
This is Terry,
Okay.
K5LG again. Maybe I can ask a little confusion. We don't typically get something from the National Weather Service, even though most of our groups been trained. Paul, will sometimes send something out. We can expect something. But what we do is whenever we start one, we get on NWS chat. I have net controls and stuff that are set up for NWS chat, a few select people. And we tell them we started a Skywarn net, and then they start looking for information. I think Travis does the same thing. Lee County does that. So it's a pattern kind of set here. It's accepted by the National Weather Service.
You don't wait for anybody to call.
So
yep.
I don't think National Weather Service has ever called a specific Skywarn net. They just told us that spotter information would be appreciated.
Okay.
Jeff, this is Kurt.
Yes, sir.
Dave Finelli's in my county,
Yes, sir.
and he gets activated by the National Weather Service.
Okay. Yeah, everybody does it a little bit different. And he does his nets actually from the National Weather Service. He doesn't do it from home.
That is correct.
Yep.
Well, he can do it from home, but he does normally come to the National Weather Service office there in League City. So, and then once he starts and he gets on the net, then it seems like everybody kind of the net goes quiet except for those folks who need to report in and give
Yes.
information to the Weather Service.
So what we need to do, what we need to get out, locally, what we need to get from out of him is when some mechanism for him to contact the ECs, the District 1 and the District 14 ECs, when the Skywarn net is activated. So can you get with him on that and figure out a way to do that?
Yes, but District 14, District 1's covered. District 14 and anybody else?
So do you get anything out of Matagorda County? That's
I'm
District
not
10.
aware of it. They
Okay.
typically want, it looks like Harris, maybe Montgomery,
Okay.
that area.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have an EC for Chambers or Liberty, but we certainly have ECs for everything west of that. There is not an EC for Matagorda County, but I didn't know if you had members that participated in with you or not. But that's District.
No, I mean, everybody that participates to support David when he's doing this is from my county.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other comments? All right. So let's go to meetings this month. This is a new, brand new thing. We don't want you to include, it says right there in the description, number of ARES meetings held. And it doesn't care how you hold them, just the number of ARES meetings held. Do not include club meetings, RACES, REACT, or any other BVARC. Don't include their meetings. Even if you're a presenter, but your time should, but if an EC presents at BVARC or another club, they should list that under their activity, not necessarily the time spent. And also include travel time. If you spend 45 minutes driving in Houston traffic to the district meeting and then you're there at the meeting for an hour and then another 45 minutes driving home because traffic is terrible, and so you've got to add that time or a half hour, whatever the EC figures is a good number for going to these events, going to these ARES meetings. It should be added. I think that I used to tell my ECs when I was the DEC to add an hour. If your meeting was an hour and 15 minutes, add an hour to it, times the number of participants, and that's how much time that you report. The SEC will list any section-wide nets. I've been doing that along. I haven't actually listed the event, but the time for it. And once again, emphasizing that EC should only list information that is under your control. And that's all there is about the meetings.
So, Jeff, this is Russ. Question.
Yes, sir.
So if I have a meeting, say, with one of my AEs, we're going to discuss a rewrite of the net script or training net script.
Yep.
That counts as a meeting for the month, correct?
Yes, sir.
But a meeting like this one, we would not count just because I don't control it. That goes up to the, well, you get to do this one, I guess.
That's right. I get to do this one.
Okay.
So this one that we had last Thursday, we had 11 members and it was 1.2 hours.
Jeff,
Yes, ma'am.
the comment about using travel time, that applies to all of the person hour boxes. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Okay, so it's not just for meetings, it's for
Right.
all those things.
Right. If you are assigned if your area starts doing pods in response to a hurricane, then you need to do that time. If you're assigned to a Red Cross shelter and you're there for 24 hours and you can't go anywhere, you count all 24, not just the 16 that you were awake. You count all 24, and you count your travel time from wherever you came from, and then you count your travel time going home. So we want all the hours that you spend. Don't think you're going to over exaggerate, because there's a lot of hours that don't get reported. So I haven't figured out number 18. If we think of something that we can put in there, then we will. But if we don't, then we don't. It says anything that doesn't fit neatly into the categories above. So that may never get filled out. It may get filled out very quickly. Number 19 is the information that only above DEC is going to be put in that box. So that is where I will put my information. Judy and Tom Whiteside will put their information. That's correct. What he has, and also the AEC web, that's from Mellencamp, and then the ASCC other, that's Judy, and then the ASCC on the next page, there may be another one from Tom. So that's the data that we're going to put in number 19. We're going to separate it from the DEC and the EC. So you see on my report, I actually use folks last week heard this. So I have a Excel spreadsheet that Jerry Reimer built back when Excel first came out, probably. And so we would use that, and every time I appoint somebody in Harris County, they get that spreadsheet. And it's been handed down from EC to EC for a long time. It was given. Yes, ma'am.
I think when I first built the monthly report page, which was the first thing I did before even building profiles and approvals.
Yeah.
I was making the monthly report be an online thing, and it's got Jerry Reimer's name in it.
That's right.
From 2005. He's the
yep.
one that crafted that, and I adopted it, and that's where it started, was Jerry Reimer's name. It's still in there too.
Yep. So along those lines, some of you folks knew Hal Merritt, KD5HW. He passed away a couple days ago. I'm going to get some information and send out something like I did for Christine Smith. Hal Merritt was my EC when I got my license. And so once Jerry Reimer became the SEC, then Ken Mitchell became the DEC, and Hal Merritt became the EC for Northwest because Ken Mitchell had moved up. And so that's how that went. And sorry to say, I've never been an EC. I went from AEC to DEC without doing an EC turn. I got lucky.
We lost another former EC a week ago. Jim Hester, K5HTK, was former EC of Williamson County, passed away last Wednesday.
And Matt Canry, who was the EC I took over for Travis back then, 2000.
Yeah. Man, everybody's going.
I'm telling you.
So Lee, that reminds me, I'm on an SEC reflector, and not all of I've seen where folks have not received this new Form 4A. Can you check into that and make sure that everybody across the country is getting it?
We found out recently, because I was tracking, we sent out invites to all 71 SECs. Well, 69. There are 2 or 3 open slots. Found out that the ARES reflector didn't fully work function, so some of the SECs did not get the original email. It was sent back out again to do that and stuff. So yeah, they should all have gotten it. Last I checked with them, only about 24 have registered on the new
24
line.
out of 69.
Yeah, you got it. That's not about a typical response for anything. The online old form, the one that you used to mail in, is going away as of September. Well, I'll say roughly September 1. So you could still submit it through the old manual system in August. That's not a problem. So, but we're gonna delete it off the system as of in September. So you'll have the new Form 4 webpage up there. And then sometime before the end of the year, Form 2 will be automated also.
What's Form 2?
Form 2 is your DEC reporting form that's supposed to be used to report to you.
You mean the one that Judy Whiteside automated for us?
Yeah, there you go.
So I guess that's why I don't know what Form 2 is. So, all right. Another thing that's happened on the Info Depot is that Judy has changed the code so that when a new member joins and is approved by the EC, and Judy, I think I'm saying this right, the date that they join ARES will automatically populate, and the EC that approved their application, their call sign will be popped into that little box. And then what are you doing about when they got their license? Is it the same date?
Well, it's the same date, but it's so that they probably need to amend that. This is to populate the task book fields.
Yes.
That when they get approved, the first two items, join an ARES group and acquire the task book, or get your license. I think it's the join an ARES group and get your license. Those two fields will be automatically populated and said, this is true anytime they're approved. But when you do that, it's going to be the date of approval.
Yes.
So if people have different license dates, like 10 years ago, whatever, they should go fix that,
Yes.
which is perfectly possible, but at least it will be tagged as they have a license.
Right. And so I don't remember what the number is, but it's something like 60% of the database hasn't filled that out at all. Not one single solitary block. Nothing.
Disappointing.
Yes, it is. So
it's a matter of communicating that we have this, when people log in and they do their profile and then they don't ever come back, because ordinary members don't typically have much reason unless they're active doing the task book. So that should just be advertised more, that we have this tool to track all the good stuff you do, and here's the list, and go plug in your dates. So it needs an advertising campaign on the task book.
So to brag for Harris County Northwest, that's part of the preamble of the net, is to go in, log in, and update your stuff. That's said every week on Sunday night at 8 o'clock.
Bless your heart.
Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. This woman has put in a lot of effort, and Lee put in a lot of effort in organizing this task book, and we need to not let it go to waste. I like to say that South Texas is ahead of the pack, and I'm going to keep saying that. We have a very good member in Lee Cooper, and a very good non-licensed member in Judy Whiteside, and we need to not let their efforts go to waste, or make a mockery of it.
Judy's work was the model for the new Form 4A that we put up too. We actually had her demo it to our developers, and we basically borrowed liberally from the concept.
Yep. So we've done 19. Is there anything else for this meeting? All I can do is, all any of us can do is try and give the league what they want. And I had talked about some of the ECs or DECs don't do a report. I don't want anyone to feel that reporting becomes a job. We're volunteers, and if you miss a month, that's okay. But we should do some reporting. ECs should be proud of what their members do, and tell the rest of the world what they're doing. I receive everyone's reports, and sometimes I make a comment. Sometimes I don't make a comment. The last email I received from Terry Jones, he gave me an update on what was going on in his world, and I said, "Man, that needs to be your monthly report." It was very, very good, but it was not his monthly report. Well, maybe his monthly report. He hadn't done it yet. But I enjoy reading a lot of this stuff. I enjoy reading some of the crazy names for bike rides that folks do, and because I'm very attached to a big bike ride. But get out there, and that's how you learn to use your equipment, is doing these public service events, or what are we calling them now?
Community service.
Community service events.
The
With your orange jumpsuit on when you go.
Right. So that's an idea. So anyway, is there anything else for this meeting?
Hey, Jeff Sherwin,
Yes, sir.
the latest forms you guys were using up on the screen, could you send those to me? I don't think I got those.
These forms?
Yeah, the ones we've been talking, especially the one on the right.
Okay, so those aren't all, those are in, I sent a link to you in the Google Drive. All 3 forms are in that Google Drive.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go look at my other machine. I don't think I have it over here.
Okay, well, as soon as we hang up from this meeting, I'll send them to you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anything else from anybody?
Yes, Jeff, this is Marita.
Yes, ma'am.
I participate like an ENCOM meeting with Williamson County with 2 hats. One is the planning section chief for Williamson County ARES, and the other one as EC for Lee. For not doubling reporting, it's okay for me to report the hours under Lee County ARES and say, I did this much and I, discuss this and how many hours, minutes, whatever, and let Terry reports it as well. How do we do it? I mean, how do I report for that?
I think you should continue the way that you're going. So sometimes when Terry does his report, and he may mention that he did something in conjunction with Lee County, and so you do something in conjunction with Williamson County, that's okay. Keep going the way that you're going.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay.
And they just report their own people's hours.
Anything else for anybody?
And the junior.
I wish I could say hello to every one of you, but I don't have a big enough screen, and I don't have a paid version of this software. So thank you very much. It's being recorded, and once. Lee, yeah, go ahead, comment. Okay, but I will send a copy of this or a link to whatever Lee Glassman posts so that you can review it or show it to one of your AECs or anybody that wants to see it. Show your mom. Show your mom you did something good one day. So thank you all very much. It's 8:15 and a little slow getting going, but it's a large group, and I thank you very much. Walt.